And it is caught for a touchdown. It's caught! And Jermaine's got it!
And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio, on this very brutally cold Wednesday morning here up at campus, coming off of I guess what was, some speculated was going to be a snow day yesterday, including myself, but did not turn out to be, only turned out to be a slight delay. So I guess we have somewhat of a normal week of classes here for the most part. And once again, we're joined by Mitch Lambert this morning to talk some Flyers, as the Flyers had a big important game last night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And maybe we'll get into a little Eagles talk again, as always, I'm sure. He probably has at least one quiz, maybe for Professor Barish's video engineering and troubleshooting class, given with all the snow days. Is that right? Do you have one quiz today, or do you have to make up?
Today's one quiz. We're all caught up now. But, yeah. I mean, it's a Barish class, so we have quizzes every single day.
Right.
So, but, yeah.
So then I'm sure you'll be off to study for that then.
Absolutely.
Momentarily. But before that, we'll get into some Flyers talk, because the Flyers, at least in the past week, they've made up some ground, I guess, in this this hunt for the Bruins, because it's essentially the Bruins right now are the 8th seed if the playoffs were to start today in the NHL, as far as the Eastern Conference goes, although the Bruins have played one less game. But essentially that's who the Flyers are chasing. And they, heading into this game last night, they were on a point streak, definitely. Like, when they weren't winning, they were losing games in shootouts and overtime, so they were at least coming away with a point. Like against the Islanders. 9 straight games. Right, 9 straight games. And, yeah, I mean, against good teams that they were putting up a good fight against, the Islanders, the Canadians last week, which
they should have won all those games.
They were all very winnable games. And, of course, most of these games now, you got Ray Emery in there at goal because Steve Mason is on the shelf.
He practiced
for a
today.
While.
He was on the ice with Chemo Timonen this morning. I just read a tweet from Tim Panaccio. So Mason is practicing. So
there's
hopefully,
some news update there.
Hopefully the next week he'll be back. Probably less. Chemo might be a week, I think.
Yeah.
He hasn't practiced in 6-7 months, something like that.
Right. Yeah, they did show camera cuts of him sitting up in the press box watching the game, of course.
He's going to be back, and we need him.
Yes.
But I just don't really. It's going to be a huge question mark as to how well Chemo Timonen is going to play. Right. I think he'll either A, play out of his mind,
right,
or B, be awful.
Right.
I mean, when he was playing, the last I saw from Chemo Timonen, he was awful.
Right.
He really was.
And certainly last night, I think we can agree that they could have used some more defensive help. I guess as we get into talking about the game last night.
We just don't have a really good defenseman. We don't.
Right. And it I guess, matters were made worse when Luke Schenn took the first penalty of the game, that interference call. I guess it was one of the, I guess in the face-off, like he was, he took a shove or whatever. He wasn't too happy about it. But then, I guess behind the net, he goes, seconds later, and he just totally retaliates, and he couldn't control his rage, I guess, and gets called for interference, a key penalty, and I believe it was 8 seconds into the power play, and the Blue Jackets scored right away.
Wasn't it Braden Schenn who had the penalty?
Number 10.
Yes, that's
whichever.
Braden.
Yeah, whichever Schenn
22.
brother it is.
It's Luke is 22.
Okay, yeah.
And in the first 6.5 minutes, Luke Schenn was already a -2, and
right.
He's a defenseman. So, I mean, his job is to not be a -2. It's to stop. It's give Emery help. And every time someone scores, Luke Schenn is on the ice, and he's not doing his job. He's out in the corner. He's standing there. He's not doing anything. He's a waste of space. He's by far the worst defenseman on the team.
What's the matter with you?
He's probably one of the worst defensemen I've ever seen, and I really want the Flyers to get rid of him, because there have been so many games that have been his fault because he wasn't covering his man. He was covering nobody. He was just standing there, He's horrible.
Yeah.
He's absolutely horrible. And Braden's no better.
Yeah, I mean, again, Braden takes the first penalty there, which is crucial, puts him in a bad situation. Then Luke, those first 2 goals on the ice, partly responsible for a couple, I guess, bad defensive breakdowns there. Because, I mean, these were like, cross-ice passes here, the Blue Jackets. I mean, to be fair to Ray Emery, I thought Ray Emery was playing pretty decent, and that those first couple of goals, they really weren't his fault so much. I mean...
No, it's never his fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because, like, that first goal, I mean, the whole one side of the net is wide open, and I mean, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like you just said, I mean, you want to get him out of here, essentially, kick him out.
We need to get rid of both of them because,
Get out!
yes, they're
As Harry
especially
Mays
Luke.
would say.
Especially Luke. I mean, I know Braden is younger.
Yeah.
And he might be good someday, but I don't think he's anything
It's
special.
not working here.
I'm sure if we got rid of him, it would be like the whole JVR thing where he's kind of not so good here, and then he goes to Toronto
Right.
and he's played out of his mind.
Right.
So I don't think that's going to happen though. I don't think Braden's that great of a hockey player.
Yeah.
But Luke has to go. We need to get rid of everybody. We really do.
There's there's certainly a lot of replaceable guys on this team.
I mean, you
obviously.
keep Giroux, you keep
Voracek,
Mason,
yeah.
you keep Voracek, maybe Strite,
Yeah.
but everyone else.
Wayne Simmons.
Oh, Wayne Simmons, yes.
He's decent. Not that he's a standout star player, but he's decent.
Simmons can score goals.
And he had yeah.
He has he's always in the right place at the right time, and that's what's good about him.
And the Flyers' first goal, certainly he was in the right place at the right time. He got that deflection goal.
He's the only consistent player on the team when you think about it. I mean, Giroux hasn't scored in a while.
Right.
Voracek hasn't scored in a while.
Right.
Simmons scores almost every night, it seems like. So I think he's the only one who's playing consistently on the Flyers.
Yeah, he's been a good contributor. And Giroux is definitely a more of an assist guy. I mean, he could score goals too, but
he's inconsistent.
They need exactly. They need more consistency here out of the the goal scorers and the star players that are maybe a few and far between other than those guys on this team. So yeah, Wayne Simmons getting the first goal for the Flyers, a crucial goal, and then within the span of only seconds, Michael Del Zotto had that wicked slap shot goal to tie it up 2-2 late in the second period.
I actually like him. He's not bad.
Yeah, I mean he's journeyman defenseman here for the Flyers, and yeah, I mean
I think he's playing better here than he has in the past. I think he was with the Rangers. I think he's playing better here, honestly.
Yeah,
I just think he fits into the system better.
Yeah,
but he's not horrible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind keeping him. But like we locked up McDonald for like 7 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with our defensemen. They're either A, they're average,
right,
which is what all of them are, or B, they're awful, like Luke Shen.
Yeah.
There's no in between really. We need if we had Shea Weber all those years ago. Well, it wasn't really that long ago, but if we got him, I guarantee you we would not be the team that we are, because we just need at least one solid defenseman. I mean, he's an all-star, like beyond belief. He's one of the best, if not the best, defensemen in hockey.
Right.
If we had Subban, like someone who's we need a really good defenseman, and that's been our problem ever since Pronger went down, because we had a really good defenseman, Chris Pronger, and then he went down, and we have not recovered since.
Right. And it's kind of ironic we're kind of sitting here talking about the Flyers defense and how we lack solid defensive players. And of course on Thursday, the Philadelphia Flyers are going to honor Eric Desjardins.
He's one of the best.
Yeah. So a bit of irony here, but yeah, he is one of the best. I remember when I was getting into hockey when I was a younger kid, playing games like NHL Hits 2002. Obviously now that sounds very dated, but being the Fly, and you kind of only had the star players on each team, and Eric Desjardins was one of the staples. That you put him in the defensive. You had 3-on-3, and just watching them back then before he retired. Definitely a lot of memories watching Eric Desjardins. He was obviously a great defenseman. He could score goals, he could make plays, and he was reliable. And yeah, again, I mean, certainly the Flyers might be missing a little bit of reliability right now. And obviously, when Chris Pronger went down, that hurt. that didn't make matters any better. And
we still have to pay
Chemo
'em.
as well. Yeah.
And that hurts too because we can't go out and sign someone because we're still paying Pronger, who wakes up in the morning and can't remember his children.
Yeah,
so it's horrible. It's horrible.
So that's really that. I mean, so again, I mean, the Flyers, they tied the game 2-2 late in the second. They're really putting pressure on it. I mean, they could have scored a couple more goals even by that point. I mean, they had a couple other key missed opportunities, but unfortunately, they didn't get anything out of that. And then in the third period, once again, you had the Columbus Blue Jackets quickly putting up a couple more goals. It kind of putting the nail in the coffin there. Unfortunately, the Flyers, they didn't have a whole lot left after that. And again, I mean, there's only maybe one out of these 4 goals that I have any, I guess, blame on Ray Emery of. I mean, the other 3, again, it was just bad defensive play here. I mean, it was like they were, the Blue Jackets, they were tic-tac-toeing it, one side, the other, through the defense, and the defense had no answer here. And it was, they're definitely disappointed in the defensive effort out of the Flyers here. And certainly the Blue Jackets, they had Sergei Bobrovsky on the scratch list, so maybe the Flyers could have put up more goals than they did put up, unfortunately. And
they also had another scratch. There was a guy they played Columbus on Friday night, and he destroyed us. What was his name?
Yeah, of course Flyers lost in overtime on Friday night.
Cannot beat them.
They just can't. Yeah, I mean,
so the Rangers.
They're now like 7 out of their 8 games against each other. The Flyers are on the losing end here. So,
remember that game last year where they were down like 3 goals and then they came back
against
and Giroux scored the game-winning goal, and it was ridiculous. Like,
maybe it was for a case of taste. I don't know, but
that was a really good game. I remember that one. Some games just stand out, and that was one of them.
Yeah. I know. I know. There's a game every now and then where it goes to overtime, and Drew has the game winner in overtime, and he comes out.
The Chicago
clutch.
game, he won a game in overtime, and
last year,
it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's had a couple injuries here and there throughout the season, amongst other guys on this team. So, but I mean, it was a disappointing 5-2 loss last night by the Flyers. And I mean, at this point, every game for them is pretty important. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like you can't. At this point, it's hard to really afford any losses like that in regulation
at all. You have to win every game.
Yeah,
the Flyers have to win out.
Yeah, and get a point, or at least get a point.
I'm not really disappointed.
Which they've been doing. Yeah,
but we really need 2 points every night.
Right. Exactly. And
especially we have a homestand coming up. I mean, we have to take advantage of that because the Flyers generally play better at home.
Right.
They have a very good record at home.
Yeah.
They have very good power play at home. Very good penalty kill at home. We have to take advantage of those home games and win. And we didn't even get a point last night, so that's disappointing.
And this game was at home, but again, it's like they just can't. The Blue Jackets. Standings wise, I mean,
they're not even that good of a team.
The Blue Jackets are 5 points behind the Flyers. I mean, they played 2 less games, but still, it's
all about matchups.
Yeah, it's like and again, I mean, if you saw the scratch list at the beginning of the game here by the Columbus Blue Jackets, I mean, they must have had like 10 scratches, including Sergei Bobrovsky, one of the better goaltenders in the league, and the Flyers, they just could not take advantage here. So
what it all comes down to, and what really, really hurt the Flyers last night, was they did not score the first goal. When the Flyers score the first goal, they have a much, much, much higher chance of winning the game.
Right.
See, I agree. They got the first goal in the last game on Friday, and they got a point out of the game. I mean, that's at least you can take.
Yeah.
But they lit up the first 2 goals, so that just makes the game very difficult. And I know that in the past, the Flyers have actually been more comfortable going down a couple goals, and they'd come back.
Yeah.
They used to do it so many times, but we just don't have the defense anymore for that. We can't do it.
Yeah. Now, so coming up Thursday night, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the ceremony, at the Buffalo game at the Wells Fargo Center. The Flyers, they better beat the Buffalo Sabres.
They're horrible.
One of the worst teams in the league of the past few years.
For now, they're going to be very good in about 2 years. They're going to get McDavid, I think.
They get some young talent.
They're going to be a Stanley Cup contender very soon.
Yeah. Maybe they're pulling like a 76ers kind of,
Kind of like that It's that ugly girl that people make fun of in high school, and then she
Yeah,
turns.
and
A
then
couple
she-
years later, puberty hits, and she's like turns hot. That's what the Sabres are like.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy there. So, but yeah, so they got that. Hopefully, that's a winnable game. They got the Nashville Predators, Wells Fargo Center, Saturday at 1 p.m.
Ooh, Lavi.
Yep, Lavi making his return to town. It's a tough game there, but
They're
again,
a really good hockey team.
take it to so you can at least take it to overtime. Of course, they got the Capitals. Then the next afternoon on Sunday.
That's always the best.
Yeah. So,
Great.
and then you got another Tuesday night game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Hopefully another game that maybe they can come away and win. And
They've
then
been beating us as of late, I think.
the Hurricane. Yeah, I mean it's another one of those matchup teams. I mean
I don't
they're
understand it.
they're at the bottom of the Metropolitan Division,
In
but
the league, I think
yeah, I mean
they may be worse than Buffalo
well,
or close.
Buffalo's actually 11 points worse.
Oh, really?
So that's just. I mean, the Hurricanes are the second worst team in the conference. They have 47 points, and the worst team behind them in the conference then is Buffalo by 11 points. It's just unbelievable almost. And then you got in the West, you got the Edmonton Oilers at 42 points, and the Coyotes at 47 points, bringing up the rear over in the West. So. But that's the state of the situation there for the Sabres. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. Before we hit the first break, I guess are you off to study then for Professor Berish's quiz today?
Yes. Unless you want to talk Eagles for like 2 minutes.
All right, yeah, we can. Yeah, we
I'm
can.
gonna catch the bus.
All right.
So.
That's a good idea. So yeah, I mean. As far as the Eagles, we were talking a little bit last week about Nick Foles, and I guess it'll continue to be a conversation on the Tyler Werner show here.
They're gonna trade him. I think that's what I was.
I was hearing. Yeah, I've been hearing to the Rams as a possibility. There's other possibilities obviously floating around out there, but just let's just look at some of the I guess you could call them excuses that some people put on Nick Foles as to why he did not perform as well last year. The offensive line was banged up.
That's what it really was, I think.
That, and I mean, maybe other things, but there's a notion that had Nick Foles been healthy throughout the entire season, that the Eagles would have won more games.
No.
And I don't, yeah, I mean.
He was inconsistent when he was playing. He was
Right.
just really, he was a turnover machine when he was playing. And, I mean, he could have been hurt. He was playing hurt. That's why
Banged up, yeah.
I think that's why he was so good the year before, because he was totally healthy, and he was playing, at this ridiculous, better than Peyton Manning was playing. And if you're playing better than Peyton Manning, you're a legend.
Yeah, and that was like maybe the best, at least regular season wise, statistical year for Peyton Manning, of course. But people are saying how Foles was 5-2 when he got injured and then was out for the rest of the season essentially. And I guess there's a notion that had Foles play, they would have won more games. And all right, so look at the losses after that the Philadelphia Eagles had when they had Mark Sanchez in there. Among them are the Green Bay Packers. I don't.
The refs were horrible in that game, from what I remember.
Well, I don't know, but I mean that game wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't, but they didn't help.
And I'm trying to think back, but yeah. So I mean, you throw Foles in there, would they have won the game? No.
There was no beating the Packers.
Yeah, they beat Dallas the first time. That's fine in Dallas. Dallas is, for whatever reason,
They smoked Dallas.
Yeah, they were kind of bad at home for most of the season, and
Right on the road.
But the second, Seattle, I don't think they would have beaten. Again,
We should have beaten Seattle.
I mean, there were chances, but I mean, there was that fortunate punting mishap with their punter that was one of the only occasions the Eagles even got into the red zone in that game. I remember. The other one, it was a good draw. Zach Ertz had a nice grab. I think I remember, and they got a touchdown not long after that. So, but other than that, I mean, they just couldn't move the ball that day, and I don't know. Again, I don't know if I don't know if Foles would have been an answer there to beat the Seahawks. Dallas, the second time that they faced, I mean, the Eagles made a miraculous comeback to even tie it up and take the lead in the first place in that game. But Dallas was really prepared for that game, and they, mentally, physically, whatever.
They were a week ahead.
It was a revenge situation. And, I mean, Dallas really came prepared, and for whatever reason, Dallas was so good on the road this past season. And, of course, this game was the one at Philadelphia. So, again, I don't know that. Maybe the one game is the second Redskins game, where it kind of came down to the end, and Sanchez threw a couple bad interceptions in that game. And, it was unfortunate because this was what, they were 3-11 at the time. I mean, I was ready to once again call Robert Griffin III, RG 3-13, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the year before that they went 3-13. If I'm not,
horrible.
Yeah, and they almost went 3-13 again. But no, the Redskins won this game here, and that was a disappointing game because that was essentially
we would have lost in the first round. That essentially,
anyway. Yeah, and
it was fine.
And it essentially, this essentially eliminated from the playoff.
If we won that game, we would have made it to the playoffs.
Absolutely. There's a chance, but yeah, I mean, we'll continue to talk about it as we got to hit the first break here, and Mitch is off to study, of course, for Professor Barish's, demanding quizzes, I guess you want to say, in his classes. So once again, Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, it was a good way to start the show as always. So I guess be gone for the day.
Okay,
and we'll see you around. Yep.
See ya.
Yep. Mitch Lambert, everybody. So, all right. So that'll, at least for the time being, end the show here. Press the off button so that no noises are made while you get out of the seat there. All right. So, number to get in, 610-683-4058. We got a lot of things to get into during today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. We just had a lot of hockey discussion, of course. Maybe we'll look ahead a little more, but there's plenty more things to come on the show today. And before we hit the first break, allow me to read a message here from the KUR Notebook. Attention, KU community. Come and get some puppy love at the next dog therapy event on Thursday, February 19th from 6 through 7 p.m. in the MSU Multipurpose Room. This event is open to students, faculty, and staff. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. So, all right, 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. Love to hear thoughts on Flyers, Eagles, what we were just talking about with Nick Foles. I'll have more input on that of course, coming up later in the Tyler Werner Show.
Uh-oh.
And, we'll get into plenty of other things, so stay tuned. And, again, I'd love to hear your thoughts as they come. And you can also, hit up the Facebook page at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show and post thoughts there, as you are more than welcome to also post thoughts on that. So with that in mind, it is the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio. Don't go anywhere.
This is the 5th grade class at Lowry's Park Elementary, and you're listening to KUR.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222. Poison can be anything you're not supposed to take. Antifreeze, pesticide, the wrong drug by mistake. If you breathe a nasty chemical, been bitten by a snake, call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here for you night or day.
For a poison or drug emergency at home or at work, just call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here 24/7 with the expert help you need. Free and confidential. Even if you think it's a false alarm, call
1-800-222-1222 or 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
A message from your Poison Control Center.
It is 11:27 on this cold, wintry morning, late morning. I'm tempted to say afternoon, but 11:26, it's still a.m., so catch myself before I say that, of course. But anyways, we were just talking Flyers with Mitch Lambert, in case you're just joining us. We were talking Flyers, we were talking little Nick Foles, and I'll get into that, more quarterback discussion and, all this and that later on, I guess in the Tyler Werner show, because I just wanted to, point out a couple more things right now. As far as the standings goes for the Philadelphia Flyers and looking ahead, again, right now, the Bruins, ironically, are a little down this year. Right now they're holding the 8th seed in the playoff race right now. There's still, at least for the Flyers, there's 25 games left in the season. Other teams, it's 24. Between that 24, 25, 26 games left for just about everybody in the league right now. And the Flyers right now, as it stands, they're one game over 500. And, right now, again, it's essentially the Boston Bruins is who they are chasing down to, somehow find a spot in the NHL playoffs later on this season. They got about a month and a half to do it or so. We'll see. But again, like crucial losses like last night to a team that, a team that is right there with them. They're behind them in the standings, but for whatever reason, the Flyers, they just continue to struggle against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And, a disappointing loss to them last night, 5-2, the fifth goal coming by way of an empty netter. But still, the bottom line, a convincing win for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the Blue Jackets on the outside looking in. And for whatever reason, the Flyers, they just cannot beat, Columbus. And, of course, Scotty Hartnell, the former Flyer who played in his 1,000th NHL game last night. It's a bit of an unfortunate loss there at the Wells Fargo Center for the Flyers. And again, defense just continues to be an issue, I guess, for this Flyers team. And Mitch himself, essentially, saying he wants the Shen brothers out of here, essentially. I guess he was a little easier on Braden Coburn, but for my money, I don't. Neither of them need to be on this team, as far as I'm concerned. It's whatever, I guess. But things got off on the wrong foot when Braden took that first penalty. Again, it's one of those things that I bring up every now and then on the show with the Flyers and. Just, some hockey players in general who, I guess they're vengeful and, maybe he got shoved by a Columbus Blue Jacket. Maybe the refs missed something. But from what I saw, it wasn't anything major. But you can't then go after that guy seconds later and just, completely interfere with him. And assume that none of the referees are on the ice are going to see it, and put your emotions ahead of what's better for the team, and just it put them in a bad situation early in the game. And sure enough, since again this Flyers defense continues to be an issue, 8 seconds into the penalty kill or whatever, and already the Flyers are down 1-0, and. Certainly seconds later, after that, Columbus Blue Jackets put up another one with, again, just poor defense by the Flyers. I understand. It hurts that Steve Mason is not out there, and I'm sure he'll be, eager to come back shortly. But you got Ray Emery right now and he's playing decent at least. I mean, looking at the past few games here, I mean, he hasn't been terrible. I mean, they beat the Sabres like they should have the other night, and they took the Blue Jackets to overtime on Friday night. So Ray Emery, I mean, he's doing the best he can, but again, I mean, this poor defense is really hurting the Flyers here, and certainly it hurt him here, or hurt them here, I should say. There, here, there, whatever. It hurt him last night. That's the bottom line. And I mentioned, Eric Desjardins. They're going to have that, ceremony. Chris Therien, I was hearing during the broadcast last night, going to be up there. Of course, played alongside him. Definitely, throughout the 90s, early 2000s. And, Eric Desjardins is a great example of a defensive staple to this team during, the time frame I just mentioned. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of memories watching Eric Desjardins back then. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of memories using him as one of the main guys to deliver, huge checks / hits in, old hockey video games like NHL Hits 2002, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. To this day, every now and then, that's one of the, classic sports games. I mean, that was really that's one of those games that every now and then I go back to play every now and then. Rather than go out and buy, NHL 15 or I don't really go out and buy every new hockey. I kind of wait every couple of years, considering I play some sports video games, but because if you buy year after year, they all kind of feel the same, I think, and at this point, was it 14 years after the game was released? I mean, NHL Hits 2002, a game like that. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of nostalgic now at this point, considering the rosters are outdated, but you kind of have the best players of each team of that time, and it's just it's one of my favorite hockey favorite hockey games, but one of my favorite video games of all time. Up there with games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark from Nintendo 64, and I mean, there's other sports games like that, classic sports games like that I could talk about, but as far as it pertains to Eric Desjardins, great example of a Flyers defenseman that the Flyers are missing right now, certainly. And last night, again, was a great example of that. All right, so exhausted the Flyers end of the conversation for a little while now. So we'll move into other territory here on the Tyler Werner Show for right now. Of course, it was Valentine's Day on Saturday. Again, I mean, not that it really pertains to me this year, but, you had it was All-Star Weekend for the NBA, and certainly you had, you had the skills competition. I tuned into, the dunk contest and three-point contest, and, it was, as usual, I mean, it's pretty entertaining stuff, I guess. In this day and age, though, it's hard to do anything new and original in the NBA dunk contest. Certainly, but it's fun to watch nevertheless, and found some enjoyment out of that. And of course, the day after the NBA All-Star Game, but other than that, I mean, you didn't really have anything new with the Sixers, at least, but we're kind of returning to action a little bit, coming up this week for the Sixers. But I wanted to, of course, get to this. Last week, for those who were unaware, of course, this was, I believe, Wednesday night, right after the Wednesday night later on after the Tyler Werner Show, when, of course, Bill Belichick was on David Letterman, of all places, and discuss a little Deflategate, actually.
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
But it was of course, being that it was a late show David Letterman setting, it I guess the tone of it and the direction of it was obviously a bit comedic in a sense. And without talking too much about it, I'll full of hijinks and some sarcasm here, I'll roll about a 2-minute sample of audio of that of the conversation, which kind of had some again, some hijinks and jokes and this and that, with David Letterman and Bill Belichick on the Late Show last week, discussing a little bit of Deflategate.
I know you know exactly what happened. You know I know you know. And what it was some kind of horseplay. Am I right?
No.
Wait a minute. I was told it was horseplay.
No.
Yeah. And I've tested balls. We had balls upstairs earlier today. One was inflated properly. One was not inflated properly. And the difference is palpable. But it wouldn't make any difference in a game.
Well, we all know that as the footballs get colder, they deflate.
Right,
scientifically.
But there was only one football that was deflated by 2 pounds. The others were deflated by what you would expect being outdoors. I'm saying, and then you got the kid going into the bathroom. He's in there for 90 seconds. I can't remember the last time I took a leak in 90 seconds. Are you that age where you have that problem?
Yeah.
But I knew it would come to nothing, and I knew it had no effect on the game, and you could tell in your tone in the press conference, and then Tom Brady also in the press conference, you could tell that it was nonsense. Now, where did it come from? You know where it came from. Did it come from Mike Holtz? Is that where it came from?
Dave, we're just out there playing a game, doing the best we can.
Now, here's what I heard. I heard that the guy intercepts the pass, and he takes the ball over, hands it to his guy, he deflates it, and then they say, hey, look at this ball, it's got no air in it. Is that what happened?
We're going to bring you in to testify when we get the investigation next month.
I'm ready. Swear me in. I'm ready to go.
All right, so, yeah, that was, that was some Deflategate talking / joking, I guess you want to call it, last week on David Letterman with none other than, of all people, Bill Belichick, of all people on the Late Show. It was a bit, it was odd. I mean, Bill Belichick all, dressed up in a comedic environment here. Yeah, and I mean, and then like they should, he's cracking smiles. It's just, unusual to see Bill Belichick, more of a bubbly Bill Belichick. I'm sure that I'm sure, David Letterman and him, they kind of met beforehand and they had like a meeting and they, they had some of these bits planned, some of the ideas that they were going to do, but, that's the Late Show. But never, it felt, you kind of had that Bill Belichick vibe there, like you would get from a press conference regarding Deflategate, a serious one, like the one I played a couple of weeks ago. But that was that, because there was an update that broke overnight / this morning, and we'll get into that momentarily on the Tyler Werner Show, because we got a lot of stuff to bounce around with today. So, but we got to hit the next break here. So again, 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. Again, coming up, we'll get into more of the Deflategate saga here. I was going to say Sada, I don't know, but that, the call out of the week, and whatever else pops up here in the show. So again, 610-683-4058. That's the number to get in, or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. As always, So that in mind, it is the Tyler Werner Show, and we'll be right back after this.
Would you like to hear positive and uplifting stories? The People Chronicles is a website that shares inspiring stories from Berks County and beyond. You can find a story that speaks to you or share a story of your own. Check out the People Chronicles online at thepeoplechronicles.com.
And hear those inspiring stories every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. here on KUR.
It's on us
To stop sexual assault.
It's on us to be more than a bystander.
not look the other way if we see something bad happening.
Not give our friends a pass.
Create an environment where women feel and are safe.
It's on us, too.
Stand up to those who tell us it's not our business.
Hold our friends accountable for their actions.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify. The pressure of the balls is a whole different story.
Yes, it's 11:43 on the Tyler Werner Show, and of course, again, that was Bill Belichick. A few weeks ago, leading into the Super Bowl and all that, and and of course, they just played the Bill Belichick audio from the other last week, the other Wednesday ago or whatever, with Bill Belichick on David Letterman, and of course that was a whole different thing in of itself. But I mentioned I said I'd bring this up, and a bit of an update that came out today. I mean, this is for those who haven't heard it yet, who haven't tuned in to anything or whatever and heard, I guess consider this some breaking news for you right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Apparently, this is from ESPN Outside the Lines. Basically the first update that I found, that the first one to really post this, the Patriots locker room, that apparently a Patriots locker room attendant tried to put an unapproved ball into AFC Championship game. So that's the title here. Now, it reads as follows. A locker room attendant for the New England Patriots tried to introduce an unapproved special teams football into last month's AFC Championship game. The same game at the center of the Deflategate allegations, four sources familiar with the investigation told Outside the Lines. One source said that the attendant assigned to the officials' locker room, identified as 48-year-old Jim McNally, has been interviewed by investigators for Ted Wells, the attorney the NFL hired last month to lead an investigation into allegations the Patriots intentionally used underinflated footballs on offensive plays in the first half of that game against the Indianapolis Colts, which New England won 45-7. And of course, when the balls were, I guess by NFL standard, when the balls were of correct PSI, I guess.
To me, those balls are perfect.
Yeah, when the Patriots just took over the game and got out of hand, of course, I want to remind everybody that that's when the Patriots pulled away in the second half, and when the I guess the dispute here was non-existent here. Now, three sources said that McNally has worked Patriots games for a decade and has been in charge of the officials' locker room at Gillette Stadium since at least 2008. In the first half of the AFC Championship game, the sources said McNally tried to give the unapproved football to an alternate official who's in charge of the special teams footballs. Those footballs are known as kicking balls, or K-balls. Before every NFL game, footballs are inspected and measured by NFL officials in their locker room before they can be approved for in-game use. The K-balls are used for special teams and not by the offenses of either team. NFL officials put a special mark or stamp on each ball approved for use on offensive possessions, as well as the K-balls used on special teams, to to ensure only properly inspected and approved footballs are used in that game. Walt Anderson, the referee for the AFC title game, had personally inspected and marked each of the balls that were approved for use in that game. Now, all right, so it's just the general scene here, I guess, of what's going on. But here's where things start to get a little interesting. Now, the alternate official, Greg Yett, became suspicious when he noticed that the football McNally handed him did not have the proper markings on it, 3 sources said. One of those sources added that Yett found it surprising that the official's locker room attendant was on the field trying to hand him a ball because officials' locker room attendants don't typically have ball handling responsibilities during NFL games. Once McNally tried to introduce the unapproved football into the game, the source said Yett notified the NFL's Vice President of Game Operations, Mike Kensel, who was at the game in the press box. Sources said they are not sure at what point during the first half McNally tried to introduce the impermissible football to Yett. They didn't know this motivation for doing so either. So Yett, when reached by outside the lines, declined to comment. And an outside lines reporter approached McNally at his home in Amherst, New Hampshire earlier this month, but he said, I cannot talk to you, waving the reporter away as he walked up his driveway. So how about that? And there's like a picture here. There's a picture right here in the article for those who want to, I guess if you want to look at it for yourself. There's a picture on the sidelines of, you got the back of Tom Brady and his winter hat standing right there.
To me, those balls are perfect.
On the right. And then you got Jim McNally, who's like highlighted on the upper left, who attempted to give an unapproved football to an alternate official who was in charge of the special teams footballs for the AFC Championship game. So that's, I guess, mouthful there of an update, but, I'll go into more of this later. But as far as, Deflategate is concerned, that right now is the latest. Jim McNally, I guess trying to, attempting to give an unapproved football to an alternate official, and apparently, special teams football marked K, which of course, that I mentioned, I believe a couple of weeks ago. They use different balls for special teams and all of that. So just for the time being, we'll leave it at that. We'll get into some more territory, and we'll discuss a little bit of some of this the latest that is coming out on Deflategate a little later in the Tyler Werner Show.
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it won't really be a long time. Maybe it'll be 20 or 30 minutes or something like that. But for now, that's we'll leave it at that. Because, I was about to get into a particular part of this show that we get to every week, but since it's 11:50 and I'm supposed to read something from the KUR notebook, allow me to do that right now. From the KUR notebook, attention KU community. Professional musicians and race relations expert Arno Michaelis and Daryl Davis will present a lecture called No Place for Hate, a conversation in black and white at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, February 25th in McFarland Student Union Room 218. They will discuss the transformative power of music, which can bind us in our humanity and eradicate racial boundaries. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. So, all right, that does that. All right, number to get in, 610-683-4058, as always, is the number to get in. Or, as usual, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or, just type Tyler Werner Show in the, I guess, what do you want to call it, the search box or whatever, that's always a good way to get in. And certainly it might be a good time to try to get in on the Tyler Werner Show, at least momentarily, because it's now time for the Tyler Werner Show Call Out of the Week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's Call Out of the Week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, of course, it was All-Star Weekend in the NBA, of course, and this week, on the Call Out of the Week for the Tyler Werner Show, got to call out, one of the All-Stars of the NBA. And as a matter of fact, the reigning MVP now of the NBA, Kevin Durant, who, a few days ago, he ripped the media saying you guys really don't know, bleep, expletive, something that I, am not permitted to say here on the air. So, that just goes to show you there what Kevin Durant had to say here. But anyways, all right. The reigning MVP is getting combative with the media at All-Star Weekend. Oklahoma City Thunder forward, obviously, Kevin Durant said on Friday that media members should have less power and players should have more when it comes to voting for end-of-season awards. The next day, he doubled down on his criticism when he asked about Thunder head coach Scott Brooks' job security via the Oklahoma's Darnell Mayberry. And of course, the Thunder not living up to the hype this year. Not playing to the level that you would have expected to. Not looking like a big championship contender as much as they have in recent years. So, Kevin Durant goes on to say, you guys really don't know bleep. Durant told reporters in his final interview session before Sunday's All-Star game. Now, Durant was later asked what stories he would like the media to focus on more. And he said, to be honest, man, I'm only here talking to y'all because I have to, Durant said. So I really don't care. Y'all not my friends. You're going to write what you want to write. You're going to love us one day and hate us the next. That's a part of it. So I just learned how to deal with y'all. And I asked, who does this guy think he is all of a sudden? Does he, they think he's like Marshawn Lynch or something?
It's just about that action, boss.
Yeah, does he... I guess it's one thing to say, I'm just about that action, boss, but this really sounds a lot like Marshawn Lynch here. Now he continues on. I'm 26 years old, so I'm in my mid-20s, almost to 30, Durant said. My first few years in the league, I was just finding myself. I think most of the time I reacted based off of what everybody else wanted and how they viewed me as a person. And I'm just learning to be myself and not worry about what anybody says. I'm going to make mistakes. I just want to show kids out there that athletes, entertainers, whoever, so-called celebrities, we aren't robots. We go through emotions. We go through feelings. And I'm just trying to express mine and trying to help people along the way. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm just this guy that got programmed to say the right stuff all the time and politically correct answers. I'm done with that. I'm just trying to be me and continue to grow as a man.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Well, yeah, if grow as a man, maybe you better start, as Clint Eastwood would say, maybe you got to start knowing your limitations here. Because, all right, the guy has an opinion that, and it's okay to have that opinion that, you don't think that the members of the media should be voting for end-of-season awards, etc. You think that right should, that responsibility should be of the players and coaches. All right, I mean, that's fine. If you want to have that opinion, that's fine. I'll get to that opinion momentarily because that's secondary, I guess, to the reason as to why he's being called out. The way you then stick it to the media and say you guys really don't know bleep, that's where you lose credibility, and that's again where I say man's got to know his limitations. Because it's fine. You want to have opinion, fine, but to express it like that, you just right off the bat you lose credibility with me. If that's how basically how you started off, and then to go on to as if he's doing his best Marshawn Lynch impersonation. To be honest, man, I'm only here talking to y'all because I have to. As Marshawn Lynch said before the Super, I'm just here so I don't get fined and whatever. Which again, that's a whole another issue in of itself. You're going to write what you want to write. You're going to love us one day and hate us the next. That's a part of it. So I just learned to deal with y'all. I think the misconception that a lot of people have with the media and a lot of players do and just don't understand is that the media is not designed, interviewers, whatever, the media is not designed to be a nuisance, as and I'm not just saying this because I'm an electronic media major or whatever, because I did some interviewing last semester on outside the lines and between the lines, this and that. And, because it is something I'd be interested in doing as well. Being, first and foremost, I'm a radio guy. What I'm doing right now is, my favorite thing. Just being in radio in any capacity, especially in a sports setting. But, certainly I'd be willing to branch out and do something like this. To be one of these guys that, one of these reporters or whatever, if an opportunity like that arose to do stuff like that every now and then, to, I guess, a Sal Palantonio-esque role. Hello. Yeah. To bring information, quotes, etc., to the people, because that's what the media is. It's a bridge to the fan bases, to the consumers of the product, the people who watch the games, the fans of the teams, etc. And, I guess Durant, Kevin Durant here, as great of a player as he is in today's NBA, getting insecure here as far as the media goes. And, he's been banged up lately, I know, and he's been criticized for being soft and whatever and this and that. But the media is designed to bring information and whatnot and footage or whatever to the fan base. They're not there to they're not there to be a nuisance. And I think that's, again, a misconception that many people have. And, many people just, they don't understand, or they refuse to understand. But, I guess Kevin Durant, in the direction he's going here, he says, his first years in the league, he was just finding himself, he reacted to things based off of what he thought everybody else wanted him to, how everyone else wanted him to react, and that he was trying to be politically correct or whatever. And I'm not saying you have to do that either if you're a professional athlete, of one of the best players in the NBA, the reigning MVP of the league. I'm not saying you have to do, you have to go out of your way and try to be politically correct and say what you think other people want you to hear. You can be yourself. You just have to do it in the context of questions that are being asked by the media as it pertains to them. The media is on the fan base's side. They're supposed to ask things, get information out of the coaches and everything that, they think you want them to hear. And I know sometimes members of the media are guilty of stupid questions and, not good questions, I guess you could say. And, we've seen plenty of that, like, for example, during the, plenty of controversy like that during the Andy Reid era.
Give me some good questions.
And, but for the most part, I mean, the media is designed to bring information to the fan bases and every, yada, yada. And you can be yourself. You just got to be. You can't stick it to the media and say, you guys really don't know bleep and everything. And it's silly to say, you're not my friends. You're gonna, love us one day and hate us the next. I'm only here talking because I have to. And again, it's silly. If you have that kind of view at it, and you really want to stick it to the media, I guess, or you believe so strongly that you shouldn't have to, then do not. Then just completely refuse, because you're making a joke out of the whole process here. If you're going to stand there or sit there or whatever after the game or whatever situation it is, and just say, I'm only talking to you here because I have to, or it's in my contract. That's what you signed up for. Obviously, but you got to understand that the media is there to bring information to the fan base that they're entitled to know. That is the reason that you have a team to play for in the first place, because there's a market for it, there's a fan base for it, etc. At least the main reason. Obviously, extremely talented NBA player, one of the best players in the game today, in the world, etc. But you got to understand, what comes with the territory here. And apparently Kevin Durant is trying to be himself, I guess, or whatever, but I guess himself does not totally fit within the context of the media here. And that's a bit unfortunate, because I just think, you can be yourself in how you approach questions or whatever, but I guess yourself has to also fit in with the knowledge and just knowing how things work, and how the media is there to bring information to the fan base. So the people that are rooting for you to succeed and want to know when things go wrong, why they're going wrong, and what happened, and give your best explanation of it. I just think somebody owes us an explanation in that situation.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation. That's all.
So anyways, that's the call out of the week there. That's brings up some other issues of our own, but anyhow, it's time to hit halftime. Well, it's beyond time to hit the halftime on Tyler Werner Show. So without further ado, we've got plenty more coming up in the next 45 minutes or so of the Tyler Werner Show. So stay tuned. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in, or facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
KUR Kutztown.
KUR, the radio voice of Kutztown University. Playing 1670 AM. Streaming online at kur.kutztown.edu. At select times of the day on Service Electric Berks, Channel 24. Hometown Utilicom, Channel 28. And Service Electric Lehigh, Channel 266.
You can listen in on your smartphone by using a free app like TuneIn.
Or on any phone simply by dialing 610-465-7860.
Listen to Kutztown University Radio.
Yeah.
Just like Metallica.
Yeah.
KUR can also be heard in select campus buildings like the MSU, Rickenbach, Stratton, Rec Center, and Keystone at 88.3 FM.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment, and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. State police are looking for a man who they say is wanted for kidnapping and should be considered armed and dangerous. It all unfolded Monday at a residence in the 1300 block of Hawk Mountain Road in Albany Township, Berks County, which is about 10 miles north of Kutztown. According to police, an unnamed victim was reportedly house-sitting at the residence. When he came home around 4:45 p.m., 43-year-old Marshall Glenn McGinty was allegedly in the house. Upon entering the house, McGinty allegedly pointed an assault rifle at him. McGinty then reportedly ordered the victim to lay on the ground face down. McGinty allegedly tied the victim's wrists together and took his wallet and keys. Sometime around 6 p.m., McGinty then allegedly drove the victim in his car to a Santander bank in Pottsville, Schuylkill County, where he withdrew $60 from the victim's account. After going to the bank, McGinty reportedly drove back to Berks County to the Hamburg Reservoir, where he cut the victim's hands free and drove off in the victim's car. Police say the AK-47 was property of the homeowner. Charges against McGinty include kidnapping, unlawful restraint, robbery, criminal trespass, theft, simple assault, recklessly endangering another person. The victim's car is a dark blue 2012 Honda Fit with a Pennsylvania registration GTD 7635. There are currently 2 arrest warrants for McGinty in Berks County. He also has probation violations in Lehigh and Schuylkill counties. McGinty should be considered armed and dangerous. He has no current address. If you know McGinty's whereabouts, call 911 immediately. Checking KUR Sports, KUR would like to remind you that for late-breaking sports scores and news from your KU Golden Bears, make sure you sign on to KUBears.com. Monsoon Mike says it's going to remain wintry, cold, and watch out for some snow showers at any time, which could dust up the road and make the commute slick.
It's on us
to stop sexual assault.
It's on us to be more than a bystander.
Not look the other way if we see something bad happening.
Not give our friends a pass.
Create an environment where women feel and are safe.
It's on us, too.
Stand up to those who tell us it's not our business.
Hold our friends accountable for their actions.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
Yes, it's 12:08 right here on the Tyler Werner Show and Kutztown Radio, and yeah, I'm curious. Mitch Lambert joined us on the show earlier. And if I'm not mistaken, as I led you into the halftime break here on today's Tyler Werner Show, it sounded like Mitch on that Metallica legal station ID. They had the Metallica music in the background. That sounded like Mitch had some input there on that legal ID, if I'm not mistaken. I know he does a 3-man show later on today, I believe, right here on KUR. So I encourage you to stay tuned for that, as Mitch Lambert is doing me a good favor by help me start off this Tyler Werner Show every week now on a good note, discussing Flyers, what happened the night before, and everything else. But yes, that sounded to me like Mitch Lambert himself on that Metallica themed legal station ID, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to discuss maybe one day I'll have to discuss a top 5 Metallica song. A Mount Rushmore, I guess, if you will, of Metallica songs throughout their career. Considering it sounds to me like he's into that. So yeah, 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. I was just with the media. I was just talking about calling out Kevin Durant for how he sticks it to the media and how he says they don't know bleep and whatever else, and and this is it reminds me also a couple weeks ago with right after the Super Bowl, when it was Michael Bennett after the game was interviewed, and he had that comment, you probably, just I don't know, it was a fair, simple question, and Michael Bennett goes oh, you probably, fight sometimes it's part of the game. You probably wouldn't understand. You probably never did anything, athletic in your life other than pick up a microphone and everything else. And,
what's the matter with you?
It's just really? it's like the same deal here. And now, and I brought up too how Kevin Durant obviously believes that the players should be the ones that are voting for these end of season awards and whatever. I mean, my theory on that, since it's I guess it's an opinion here, and I guess I kind of have an opinion of my own here, is that, I mean, when you're a player, I mean, there's the old adage that, like, if you don't play the game or whatever, you don't play, but then you already don't know as much or whatever, and your opinion is not valid and yada yada. But by the same token, when you're an NBA player, as far as like watching other teams playing and everything goes, I mean, you're watching, as far as watching other teams goes, you're watching who is next up on the schedule and stuff. And, same with the NFL and, the other sports. But when you're, I guess when you're part of the media or whatever, and you're not just watching whatever team is up next up on the schedule, I guess the people that are voting here from the media or whatever, they're watching everybody. And I just think it should just be a collective gathering of whoever that watches, basically, as much of a variety of different NBA teams as possible. I mean, I know, I guess you can't watch every single NBA game of every single season or whatever, but just a collective unit, I guess, because when you're a player, you're worried about playing, and you're not watching, and you're not sitting out there on the court, and you're not there in practice or whatever, saying oh, this guy on this team, he plays pretty well, maybe he can be an MVP or whatever, and or whatever. I mean, I know that sounds very basic, but I just think it should be a collective unit of people, whether that's members of the media or whatever. I guess a collection of unbiased opinions, obviously, because I know with like coaches and players, you have a tendency to, honor people who are from your own team and everything, and there can be a bias there. So I kind of, furthermore, I kind of disagree with Kevin Durant there. I think, maybe he's stretching the envelope a little too much there with, as far as, players being the guys that should be the people that vote for these end of season awards and all-star players and everything else.
Man's got to know his limitations.
So that's pretty much that. But moving on, I mean, 610-683-4058. I mentioned, well, and I'll play a little bit of this later on, because I also mentioned how I was in the I guess I was sort of like a media member, sort of, last semester on KUTV's Between the Lines as a part of one of my classes. And, of course, how I had that role was kind of an interesting story in and of itself, when the people that were supposed to audition for it never even showed up, and they kind of just needed people right away, and I just decided, hey, I'll do it. So I wanted to, of course, now there's a new host of Between the Lines. New hosts of but the Outside the Lines portion of the show, which I did last semester also, like, you go around spots on campus and interview students on, whatever. I'll play a little bit of this later, because for those who don't know, Matt Walsh, who is also a host here, he does, what's it called, Backseat Underground. I believe he does that on Monday nights from 6 to 8. So you can tune in here on KUR. For those who don't know, I mean, Matt Walsh, I mean, he's a funny guy. I mean, he's full of energy, and he's the new host of Outside the Lines. And I thought he had a kind of a comedic moment on Between the Lines, and I'll play that a little later for you. Or Outside the Lines, I guess I should say, the outside line of the lines segment on Between the Lines. in interviewing one of the students. I'll play that a little later. I'll get back to that later on. But right now, actually, I want to. So I didn't get to this yet. I wanted to get to for the first time this spring semester, which was bound to happen eventually. I'm gonna bring some Tiger Woods news to the show here.
Yesterday I did pull out.
Yeah. Now, of course, for those who are unaware, I mean, well, I'll get to that in a minute. How, Woods is, or I'll get to that maybe a little later because running up against another break. But Woods is sounds like he might be taking a sabbatical, and instead of pulling out yesterday, maybe he'll pull out for a few months, and it might be in his best interest to do so, considering his game has continued to slump. And I know he's been hampered by injuries or whatever, and this and that. But and again, I'm not surprised. I mean, he's it seems like he's breaking down, and I know some people say how golf, they only want to watch it because they want to see Tiger Woods win another major, and I sat here. Probably last year around this time or at some point and before the, golf season really began. And I said, Tiger Woods is not going to win another major. And I know, again, I every now and then when golf is on or whatever and Tiger Woods is a part of it and I'm at, I'm at a Red Lobster or something and, or I just hear people that bring up Tiger Woods, they say how they want to see him win another major or whatever. And golf won't be interesting again unless he starts, unless he's involved or whatever. And, again, I say before how he's not going to win a major. And again, I continue to say, Tiger Woods, you will never win another major tournament. Again, Tiger Woods will never win another major. And that's, again, that's pretty much that. And, and as far as, ultimately surpassing Jack Nicklaus, I don't think he will, as a matter of fact. He's breaking down. His game's not the same. But speaking of his game, now here's something that came out, I guess, yesterday evening. For those who are interested, and not that it's, I guess, a huge deal, but some people might consider it a big deal to some extent. But apparently, this is from golfdigest.com, Tiger Woods' golf ball gave him technological jump ahead in 2000, Frank Nobillo says. It's worded a little funny, I guess. But so Tiger Woods' dominant golf essentially began with his 15-stroke victory in the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach in 2000. And we're talking 15 years ago here, people. Shortly after switching from a wound golf ball to a solid one, not that mattered, or did it? Now, he claims that, this gave him an advantage. A lot of people look at 2000 as Tiger at his best, but it was probably the first and only time in Tiger's career you could argue that maybe he had better equipment than the rest. Only a handful of guys had gone to the solid ball. The rest of us all thought that a wound ball was better. Now, everybody caught up about a year or two later with ball technology, and Tiger was still better, but not by quite as much. Everybody now is using the same type of equipment, so it's hard for any one player to get that technological jump ahead that I believe Tiger had in 2000. He obviously had skills too, but that's why it wasn't a fair fight. So, it's funny how earlier, we're talking about Deflategate and, apparently, apparently the New England Patriots are not the only ones that have controversy with their balls, I guess. I guess apparently you can throw Tiger Woods into that mix now, apparently. Again, I'm not that I'm trying to take anything away from that, but it's intriguing that came out this morning, especially now during a time where Tiger Woods is, I guess considering taking a sabbatical and not playing for a little while, which may serve him well. But I just found that a little interesting. He may maybe would not have been as dominating around that time, perhaps, if he didn't have that those solid balls, as the article mentioned. And
to me, those balls are perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever, I guess, as some people would say, but just a little interesting, something that came out as I bring up Tiger Woods and his possible sabbatical. So we'll get to more of that. Of course, the scouting combine starting up this week. Nothing really important today, but as far as that goes, but we'll have more of that to talk about next week, I'm sure. But maybe talk a little Eagles, a little, I guess, soon in the show. But again, we got some other things to hit. So, but before we can do that, we got to hit the next break. So, again, the number to get in, 610-683-4058, as always. That's how you can get in. And Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, if you want to maybe send a post there. So we'll come back on the other side with more discussion, more, whatever we have planned for you right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. Don't go anywhere.
We're Cup Pack 180, and you're listening to KUR.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
It's 12:24 on today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. As always, new time this semester. I guess maybe the lunch time frame. I guess 11 to 1. Nice time to be doing some radio here, some sports talk, some Philadelphia sports talk on KUR. Now, I mentioned previously that I was going to. Since we're talking about all kinds of media and just all kinds of, I don't know what, hijinks or whatever, I mentioned just a few minutes ago how Matt Walsh, who does Outside the Lines for KUTV on their Between the Lines sports program, something that I was involved with last semester, of course, in the fall, and it's something I encourage you to check out on KUTV. They got the web stream, they got webcasts on Ustream. You just Google Kutztown and Between the Lines and you can easily find this stuff. But last week, well, it was for the first edition of the semester for them, and they, so they're working out some kinks and everything. So I mean, the audio might not be perfect of the, as far as the volume of everybody goes, but last week it was kind of, I give people laugh or whatever, but last week on Outside the Lines, one of the main topics, one of the main questions that Mr. Walsh had for students, what their thoughts were on the KU bookstore having a discount. They had like a 40% discount going because on Wednesday, like tonight, for instance, they have women's and men's Kutztown basketball teams here at home playing tonight. And I'll actually be working the audio board for that is because that's actually part of one of my classes, the event and documentary classes. So I'll be here I'll be up here on campus until like 10 o'clock. Talk about a day. I got here at 9 for my first class, and I'll be doing all this stuff, and I'll have been up here until 10 o'clock. And so basically, if both the men's and women's basketball teams here at KU win, the next day they have a 40% discount at the KU bookstore. That's pretty significant. If one of the teams wins, then they have a 20% discount. But I guess last week, what was it, Wednesday, both teams won. So they had a 40% discount then on Thursday. But the thing is, when they shoot this outside the lines segment of the Between the Lines show for the upcoming week, I guess they do it on Friday. So there's no longer a discount. But Matt Walsh asks these people, the recurring question is what their thoughts are on the 40% discount. And I think somebody says, like, I think one of the responses is like, oh, I didn't know that. I guess I'll go. Maybe I'll go stop by there right now and because it's Friday and because the discount was only the day before. Matt Walsh goes on to say, actually, the discount was only yesterday. So let me start this and let me see like where it might take a little to get to the part, but nevertheless, let's hear Matt Walsh in a comedic moment on Outside the Lines last week.
With the men's and women's victories this past Wednesday, yesterday, which is Thursday, they're at the KU bookstore, so there was 40% off all apparel. What do you think about that?
Way, they're normal price now.
Oh, that's a bummer. Thank you very much for your time today, Nate. I'm interested what your perspective is on the men's basketball team making the playoffs this season.
They worked pretty hard, I can tell, so I think that was a pretty neat game they had. I'm really interested to see where this goes.
And the other day, the men's and women's basketball teams both won the game, so the KU bookstore had a discount of 40% off. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to go down to the bookstore after this interview.
That was only for one day.
So there you had it. That was only for one day. So I guess they didn't know. I guess the interviewee there did not know that it was only for one day, and Matt Walsh corrected him on that. And I watched that. It was the first edition of the semester, and I thought he did a good job there, and it was a good comedic moment there, and it made it more funny, at least for my. I know it's not the goal, I guess, to make it comedic or funny, but naturally, Matt ended up doing that here by pointing that out. That the guy is, the discount was yesterday, and the guy said that he wanted to go to the So, maybe that was unentertaining there, but I tried. If it wasn't entertaining, I tried there, but that's the kind of stuff that the electronic media majors do here on up here at Kutztown, and again, like I mentioned earlier, as an EM major myself, I'll be up at helping out with the game, doing the running the audio board, so it'll kind of be a familiar role. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how for one of the games I did, for both of the games, I was camera operator, and that I gotta say, especially when the men's game goes into quadruple overtime, manning the camera for what was it? It was like 6 hours maybe or whatever between everything that was going on in commercial breaks and half times and whatever else. That gets you tired, because I was up at the I was one of the top cameras, and you're going side to side for all this time trying to follow the game, and it really does a number on your eye. Like after a while, like I'm just like ready to fall asleep, and the game when multiple overtimes at the end. I mean, it was crazy. So at least fortunately, for tonight's basketball games, which you can catch on the KU TV channel or whatever. I mean, tonight I'll be manning the audio board, so I'm looking forward to that. In the production truck, which will be outside. Hopefully it'll be well heated, because it's going to be another chilly night. But it's winter, getting down to the end. But so that'll be my job. At least I'll get to sit in a chair and kind of not be focusing on moving my camera every which way for 6 hours. So that's good. Yeah.
Problem with concentration.
It can really give you a problem with concentration after all that time. So, but anyway, so that's that. And I thought I'd share that comedic outside the lines moment there with the new host, Mr. Matt Walsh, who's again member of the station here, does his own show called Backseat Underground. You can check out 6 to 8 right here. All right, now I wanted to get back to this Deflategate kind of update. I didn't mean to do any poetry there, but anyways, I mentioned earlier how Jim McNally from the New England Patriots, on the sideline, he was trying to apparently, I guess, give an unapproved football to an alternate official who was in charge of that special team, the special teams footballs for the AFC Championship game. And as I scroll here, it's again, this is sheer coincidence here. I was just talking about outside the lines in KUTV, but ESPN has an outside the lines deal of their own. And as it pertains here to the New England Patriots, an outside the lines reporter approached McNally at his home earlier this month, but picking up where I left off here earlier. But he said, "I can't talk to you," waving the reporter away as he walked up his driveway. Now, McNally, who is a part-time employee who is hired by the Kraft Group, a company owned by the Patriots owner Robert Kraft. Kelly Way, the director of operations for team ops at Gillette Stadium, said NFL Game Day employees are paid by the Kraft Group. McNally is not listed in the Patriots' main switchboard directory. Now, it's not known whether or not McNally is the same locker room attendant who reportedly ducked into a bathroom with a bag of footballs for 90 seconds before taking them out to the field before the start of the AFC Championship game. And, again, as mentioned earlier, that was, it was kind of, there was a bit on that during the David Letterman segment. I'd encourage you to YouTube that if you want, Deflategate with, Bill Belichick on the set there, and David Letterman hit a comedic shot at that. Yeah, with Bill Belichick sitting there. Now, anyways, let's see. Talks about how the Patriots won the Super Bowl and, yada, yada. Now, a source told Outside the Lines that Kensel decided to personally go down to the officials' locker room at halftime of the Patriots-Colts game to check out the game balls. Now, this was in part because of the suspicions of McNally's actions that were raised. Kensel did not respond to requests for comment. It also was reported that the Colts noticed an underinflated football after an interception by linebacker DeQuell Jackson in the AFC Championship game. Again, some more stuff that was kind of hinted at with David Letterman's comedy, who, of course, for those who don't know, is an Indianapolis Colts fan himself. Now, let's see. Now, DeQuell Jackson. All right, Jackson said at the Pro Bowl that he did not notice that the football was underinflated. Also, Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive vice president of football operations, and of course, former Philadelphia Eagle, told 60 Minutes Sports that Colts general manager Ryan Grigson told league officials in the second quarter of the AFC Championship game that the Patriots might be tampering with footballs. One source said Kensel personally checked the PSI levels of all 12 footballs the Patriots had for use on offense and found that 11 of 12 of those footballs were underflated by 1 to 2 pounds. they were reinflated to the league required level and were returned for use in the second half. Now, all right, so now it gets to a part where Bill Belichick has some input on the situation here. Patriots coach Bill Belichick has attributed the 11 underinflated footballs to atmospheric conditions and has said the Patriots try to do everything right. We are on the side of caution. Kraft, in a strong defense of his head coach and quarterback Tom Brady, said, I want to make it clear that I believe unconditionally that the New England Patriots have done nothing inappropriate in this process or are in violation of the NFL rules. Now, he added, I would expect and hope that the league would apologize to our entire team if the Wells investigation is, quote, unable to definitively determine that our organization tampered with the air pressure in the footballs. And, of course, in a statement released last month, Wells said that he expected his investigation to go on for at least several more weeks and asked that everyone involved or potentially involved in this matter avoids public comment concerning the matter until the investigation is concluded. The results will be shared publicly. Dean Blandino, the NFL's head of officiating, said at the Super Bowl news conference, there was an issue that was brought up during the first half. Football came into question, and then the decision was made to test them at halftime. There's an investigation going on. I can't really get into specifics. When asked for the comment by Outside the Lines, Blandino texted, I can't elaborate on the investigation still ongoing. The NFL, through a spokesman, told OTL, we're not commenting on the details of the ongoing investigation. So, for now, that is essentially where things stand with the Flake. That's your update that came out just hours before today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. And, fortunately, it was a good time, that I was, right beforehand. So I was allowed, maybe you were unaware of this until tuning into the show here. At least if you're interested in hearing this stuff, which I would hope you would if you're listening to KUR right now, to the Tyler Werner Show. So that's, right now, let's where things stand with the Flakegate. And we'll see what happens, what else may come out within the next week, as I'm sure I might have more to talk about with that. But, until then.
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
Yeah, I guess as Bill Belichick would say, or at least until maybe next week on the Tyler Werner Show. All right, so we're running short on time here, so we got to hit the next break on today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show before we discuss I guess whatever else we have left. MVP of the week is coming up, coming right here your way. So stay tuned for that. We just got a little more to go until I have to head out and head over to my next class, and basically what I have to do for the rest of my day up here at Kutztown University. So with that in mind, 610-683-4058. We'll be right back with more discussion right after this.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
WASP 18b is a hot Jupiter, which is a planet that is similar to Jupiter, but its surface temperature is much higher than Jupiter's. This hot Jupiter is located in the constellation Phoenix. Phoenix's constellation is a minor grouping of stars in the southern sky. This planet is 330 light-years away from Earth. Hot Jupiters also orbit very close to their parent star. Their distance from one another is only 0.015 to 0.5 astronomical units. If we would think about a basketball and a tennis ball an inch apart from one another, that would describe the relationship of the hot Jupiter to its parent star. This hot Jupiter is 10 times the size of Jupiter. It orbits around its star once every 23 hours. It takes Jupiter about 12 years to make a full orbit around its sun. It is said that this star is relatively young, only being 500 million to 2 billion years old. With this planet so close to its star, it might be reducing the star's magnetic field. WASP 18b is set to fall into its host star in 1 million years. Astronomers believe that the planet is making its star much older because X-ray amounts are much lower for the age of this hot Jupiter. The X-rays that normal stars give off make the stars shine. The lack of X-rays from WASP 18b makes it hard to locate from Earth. The hot Jupiter's gravity may be having an effect on the magnetic field because there could be gas inside the star that weakens the convection. Most stars that are seen from Earth have a high magnetic field. Hopefully we can learn more about this planet and its star in the future.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics, and for more information or to hear the segment again, click on the Telescopic Topics icon on the KUR website at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by the KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
It's time for Tyler Werner's MVP of the week. Yes, we come back here to finish up today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show with the MVP of the week here. Start off this last segment, and this isn't thinking too much outside of the box here, but it's not anything new. But my MVP, it's my MVP of the week is Bill Belichick for being on The Late Show with David Letterman. I know it's not very creative, but I hate to say it, but there's just there wasn't a whole lot of options, at least for me, this past week. I guess, but just because it brought, well, for one thing, it brought some. It was a nice, ironic, comedic moment, and it was cool that Bill Belichick agreed to do this. Whether you like him or not, which I know a lot of people do not like him, of course, but he gets all dressed up and he's on the David Letterman show, and cracking some smiles, showing a little more of his human side. Something that listen to his press conferences and watch him on the sidelines, and basically anything that has to do with football, and of course giving his Deflategate press conferences.
This is the end of this subject for me.
It's not really, you never really get a human side of him like that, and it was nice to see him, do some comedic bits here regarding Deflategate with David Letterman, and just discussing things on David Letterman. That's provide me with some personal comedy, I guess, and an interesting way to, I guess, lead into the updates that we had today on the show with the Deflategate and what's going on. And in case you didn't hear any of that earlier, or missed part of it, always check out the podcast on Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, which I'm sure will be up on tomorrow on the Facebook page, given that today it's hard to get it all together. So yeah, that's that. We only got a few minutes left on the show, and I mentioned earlier how Tiger Woods, as we get close to golf season, as right now we're in a I guess a pretty dead time as far as I'm concerned with Philadelphia sports. We talked plenty of Flyers early on, of course, with Mitch Lambert, and that's one of the main reasons that we should, one of the main reasons we have him on, obviously, to add to the conversation. And, of course, you can always call in to add your own kind of conversation to this show and, spice things up a little bit with the Eagles. And, free agency, we got a couple weeks until that starts beginning, and the scouting combine comes up this week, essentially, today. So I'm sure we'll have some conversation on that next week as we look forward. And this is a big offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially for Chip Kelly, because now, obviously Chip Kelly has more power now, and Jeffrey Lurie fires, or with I guess Howie Roseman I guess, Howie Roseman or whatever, kind of fires the guy, Chip Kelly's former personal assistant, I guess, for personnel and whatever. And essentially, Jeff Lurie then gives, all this extra power then to Chip Kelly, when initially Chip Kelly came in here just to be, just to coach football. Now it's like all the personnel stuff is on Chip Kelly here. And Howie Roseman, I guess, is unfortunately just a guy who signs the checks and manages the caps. It's a bit unfortunate because Howie Roseman, he has had drafts where he has had input in, like the one with they got him Brandon Graham, and he's done pretty well in a couple, some of those draft picks back even before Chip Kelly's was here. But so that'll be interesting. And of course they hired a young 30-year-old personnel stud as Comcast Sportsnet called him. So it'd be. I didn't have. That was a couple weeks ago. But I didn't have a whole lot of reaction to it. I mean, he's kind of. People want to say the guy's too young and to know anything. I don't. I mean, it's kind of just a blank slate, and he's got to start somewhere, I guess. I mean, I guess it's premature to call him a personnel stud, but I don't know. That's really remains to be seen, I guess. So yeah, we gotta finish up the show here today, and I mentioned earlier how Tiger Woods is supposedly, I guess he's gonna take a sabbatical here, and I wanted to give a little, I guess, some of the thoughts that are circulating around for those as golf season is approaching. The Masters and everything, and of which Tiger Woods may not compete at. Now, Tiger Woods' golf career is hanging in the balance after the 14-time major winner withdrew from a third tournament in 8 starts before labeling his current game as unacceptable. Although the American has been blighted by a back injury in recent years, forcing him to undergo surgery in spring 2014, Woods is adamant his latest setback was not related and that he'd be back. Following his withdrawal from the Farmers Insurance event on the PGA Tour so soon after carding his worst ever professional round of 11 over par to miss the cut in Phoenix, it feels like Tiger has an Everest-sized mountain to climb despite his claims. Tiger says, "I need a lot of work on my game and to spend time with people that are important to me. I enter a tournament to compete at the highest level. When I think I'm ready, I'll be back," he added. "I am committed to getting back to the pinnacle of my game. I do expect to be playing again very soon." So that's I guess where things stand right now with Tiger Woods. Probably not playing, So for those, I guess, who are those who are uninterested in golf, strictly because Tiger Woods is not going to, be involved. That's a shame for you, I guess. And again, I mean, for those who, if there's anybody out there who's expecting Tiger Woods, rooting for him to win another major, again, Tiger Woods will not win another major. Again, Tiger Woods will not win another major. At least that's my prediction. That's guys. It's it's unfortunate. He's breaking down, I guess. If you want to say unfortunate, if you're a Tiger Woods fan, he's breaking down, and it's been pretty evident in recent tournaments and with his recent injuries and everything. So that's where that stands. Now, lastly, let me see here. I think I got to make sure or at least I got to try to make sure that we have we do all these KUR notebook announcements. So with that in mind, let me read this one again. I don't know if I read it earlier or not, but attention KU community, professional musicians and race relations expert Arno Michaelis and Daryl Davis will present a lecture called No Place for Hate, a conversation in black and white at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, February 25th in the McFarland Student Union Room 218. They will discuss the transformative power of music, which can bind us in our humanity and eradicate racial boundaries. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. With that in mind, thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you stayed with me here for the near 2-hour broadcast of the Tyler Werner Show today on Kutztown Radio, stay tuned for next week. As always, we'll have Mitch Lambert in. I'm sure we'll have all kinds of stuff to talk about. Maybe we'll get back to more football talk, and I guess whatever else happens with the Flyers. And I guess maybe, whatever may happen with the Sixers. They continue to put up good fights against good teams despite obviously not being in any kind of playoff race. So, with that in mind, thanks everybody for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and of course, stay warm in this very cold winter weather we are having. Until next week, talk to you right here on the Tyler Werner Show as always. Have a good week, everybody.